All right, everybody, this is part two of a video that I put out earlier this week. As many of you know, there was a big announcement for the 60th anniversary of Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys' masterpiece, their magnum opus, whatever you want to call it, Pet Sounds, released May 16th, 1966, which happens to be my birthday. So this album has a lot of special meaning to me. It's my favorite album of all time. It holds the song God Only Knows, which is my all-time favorite song. I've loved studying this album. I saw the Love and Mercy movie back in 2016 or so, whenever that came out. The biopic with Paul Dano and John Cusack. I've had the CD for many years that I've listened to, at least since college. So 10 years or more. I've read Brian Wilson's official autobiography. I collect a lot of Beach Boys stuff. You know that I love the Beach Boys. I got to see the Pet Sounds tour with Brian Wilson, Al Jardine, and Blondie Chaplin in 2016, celebrating the 50th anniversary of this record. And obviously, we just lost Brian Wilson last year, 2025. So this has a lot of emotion around it, this release. Again, as you saw my video, and thank you everybody that watched the video. It got a great response. I really appreciate it. If you watched that video, you saw that I discussed the different formats that are coming out for Pet Sounds. We've got a Zoetrope kind of novelty piece. We have the Vinyl File 2 record set that includes the stereo version and the mono version, which is sourced from the original analog tapes from 1966. We're also getting the Pet Sounds Sessions highlights. This is from the 1997 box set of the Pet Sounds Sessions. I believe it was 3 CDs originally. There's a 2 CD version of that that's coming out, as well as a couple different color variants, as well as a black vinyl copy of that. And the rumor is that the whole box set will be available for streaming here later this year. So I mentioned all that in the previous video. Since the recording of that video, I have ordered the vinyl file copy of this record. And what I did not realize until after the video had posted and was up for a little bit was that there was yet another version of this album being put out. This is going to be a one step, which is going to be sourced from the 1972 Brother Records master tape. Now, this is going to be cut by Chris Bellman, who, his name is synonymous with the vinyl reissues in this day and age. Between him, Bernie Grudman, and Kevin Gray, maybe Ryan K. Smith, those are your Mount Rushmore guys in the vinyl reissue world. I did not realize this was going to be put out because it's not being sold through the Beach Boys website. They have a link attached to the Capitol Music site, and that's where it's being sold, to the Capitol Music Group, which obviously the Beach Boys were a big part of Capitol Records. Brian Wilson was a part of Capitol Records in his solo career. So what does this mean? Well, this is the tape that when the Beach Boys kind of started their own label, per se, kind of, Brother Records, they had a reissue of Pet Sounds. It came out with another record that the Beach Boys had put out called Carl and the Passions So Tough, which at that point, Brian Wilson was really in the thick of a lot of his struggles. He wasn't really playing a very big part in the band at all. Never officially left the band, but was not a strong contributing member of the band. But when Pet Sounds was originally released in 1966, it was considered a commercial flop. And actually, the record label released a greatest hits album very quickly after Pet Sounds came out, so that the Beach Boys could make some money for, I think, the Christmas market. So you had Pet Sounds come out in May. The greatest hits came out a little bit later, so that the Beach Boys could make some money. But after Pet Sounds, that was kind of the end of the Beach Boys' commercial success in terms of making hits and all that. There were the occasional hits. I mean, obviously you had Do It Again from 2020, I think in 1969. Kokomo that came out in the 80s with, kind of the Mike Love Beach Boys. But you didn't have the chart toppers in the same consistency like you did when the Beach Boys were putting out California Girls, Surfing USA, Surfer Girl, all that kind of stuff. So, I can see both sides of the story, why the record labels would have put out a greatest hits, whatever. Anyway, this is not a history of Pet Sounds video. This is a Sam dilemma as a collector and as a owner of a couple different copies of Pet Sounds with one already ordered. So the issue is we have two different, audiophile versions of Pet Sounds coming out. And I am not an audiophile at all. My system is very, very bare bones basic. I mean, I use the built-in receiver in my turntable. I don't have additional bells and whistles. I have the Fluence turntable and a couple of Edifier speakers, and that's my system. You people in the comments will probably yell at me like, that's not any way to enjoy records. Why do you listen to records? That's what I have. That's what I can afford. Some of it was these were gifts, some pieces of it. I have another Fluence turntable. I've liked it a lot. And that's just what I'm good with. I mean, that's what I need for this particular moment in my life. All that to say, I got the vinyl file ordered. Again, sourced from the original 1966 mono analog tapes. The one step, which is retailing right now at $100. So that's kind of the running price for a lot of these. I mean, we had Murmur by REM came out recently. Nat King Cole's The Christmas Song was out fairly recently on one step. Wildflowers by Tom Petty was out on one step. I don't have any of those. I've never spent that much money for a record. Never. Not an OG copy. I think the most that I've ever spent for a single record, new or OG, is under, I want to say definitely under $60, maybe under 50. I know I've spent $40 for a record before, an OG, and I'm not counting shipping or anything. I'm talking about straight price. I know for a fact I've spent $40 on a record, a single record, not a 2-disc. I've never spent $100 on one record. I've never spent $100 on a 2-record set. But the issue is this particular one step is sourced from the tapes that people say are the best way to hear Pet Sounds. People say that Two for Pet Sounds with Carl and the Passion So Tough is the definitive Pet Sounds. A lot of people call it Brown Sound. That's what I've heard. I've talked to some friends. I've talked to my buddy Tommy at Tommy's Musical Adventures. I was on my buddy Alex's stream from Beer and Vinyl last night at the time of recording this. We had a long conversation about this. I've talked to several people about this. I don't know what to do. The plain and simple is it is an expensive record, and it's a single record, and I don't have the nicest equipment, but this is a limited thing, 6,000 copies. So like that little bit of fear of missing out kicks in. It's a Bellman cut. It's again a different tape than the vinyl file, so in theory, it's going to have a different sound to it. I would not long over this if it wasn't my favorite album of all time. Even a top 5 album of all time, I don't think I would do it like this. But this is my favorite album of all time. I have 2 vinyl copies of Pet Sounds, neither of which are originals, so people are going to scream at me. I bought this RSD Essential just a couple years ago, which was my first vinyl copy of this record. And there's nothing special about it other than it's on this kind of like Coke bottle wax. This is a stereo copy, probably from the 97 CD, but I didn't own it on vinyl. I paid way too much for this when it came out. This was ridiculously expensive for Actually, this might be the most expensive record I ever paid for after shipping and everything. This was like $45, which is ridiculous. It's not even a gatefold. So I have that copy, which is actually going for a little bit of money now on Discogs. And then I have the 50th anniversary mono record remaster on the Rainbow Capital. Again, nothing special about the packaging other than hype sticker showing that it's mono, and then a slightly different label because it doesn't have stereo listed on it. But yeah, virtually the same packaging for these two records. Black vinyl, green vinyl. Nothing really to make these prime products. I think this might have a slightly better packaging, but it's very, it's a minimal difference. So I don't know. I'm going on a very big trip here next week, at the end of next week. So I want to save money for that, and we have been saving money for that. Record Store Day is less than a month away. It's like 3 weeks away. There are a couple of records that I really want for Record Store Day. The Brian Wilson releases, Tom Petty, John Prine. So there are at least 5 records for Record Store Day that are musts for me. In addition to just the other stuff that's been announced to come out. And I know this is the problem with record collectors. It's always something else. I get that. But it's my favorite album of all time. I don't know if I want to drop $100 on it. But my thing is kind of like, if I don't get it now, I'm not going to get it. And if I ever upgrade my system, I won't have it. And I know the vinyl file is going to be great. I do, because I have 2 other vinyl files. And they've been great. I've got The Band and I've got Nat King Cole on vinyl file. Not One Step, vinyl file. And it's going to be cut from the original tape. So I'm going to have an analog copy of it. So all that to say, my dilemma, do I get it? Or do I just settle for the vinyl file and be happy with it? People are going to say, and I know people have said this to me, why don't you just sell these copies? You're not going to need them after the vinyl file or the One Step. Very, very true. Again, it's my favorite album of all time. These are different copies of the record. This record is, it's worth a little bit now, even though it's not the best pressing. And this is just a cool, like the 50th anniversary edition. So it's kind of like, the little bit of collector comes out that we all have, where it's like, I'm going to have better copies of this record, but I still want to keep the ones that I had before. So that's starting to come into play as well. I have pulled a few records from my shelf that I'm thinking about selling, maybe to put toward purchasing this. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't have records that I really need to part with right now, because most of my records are cold. I've only been collecting now for a little less than 5 years for records. And, the records that I have are, that's the music that I'm still kind of interested in. The only things that I'm getting rid of are either lesser copies of, upgrades that I purchased. Like I've got some, like I'm a John Denver fan. His records you can find in every $2 bin in America. I have a couple of nicer John Denver, upgrades. So like a couple of the OGs are in the bag. I'm not going to get money for those. Jackson Browne, same thing. I'm not going to get money for Jackson Browne. I've got, maybe, a couple of like sealed records that I won through contests on Whatnot. They're $10 records on Discogs. I don't have 100. I've probably got 40 records. I'm not going to get $50 for them. There's no way. So my dilemma is the One Step worth it? Is it something that I should get now, or will it be around? Yeah, I'm torn because I really want it, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm putting my money toward other things. Like this trip, I want to put the money toward the trip. Some of the newer albums that are coming out, those are, I want to put money toward that. And then just, concerts and life stuff and everything else that costs money. So that's just me rambling. Maybe it's whining a little bit about not having the One Step yet or ordered. I don't know what to do. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've run into this before, especially if it's been like a favorite or top 10 favorite album for you. Is this a legitimate reason to, question your sanity? Because that's what I've been doing for a few days. But anyway, that's a long video. Let me know what y'all think. In the meantime, y'all be good. Take care. And we will see you on the next one. Maybe I'll have a One Step. Who knows? Bye now.